Hey y'all, I'm Karen Mayer Cunningham, the special education boss. If you've ever felt confused, overwhelmed, or just plain frustrated at the 504 IEP table, you are in the right place. Every week, I'm breaking down the rules, the rights, and the realities of special education so you can walk into meetings informed, empowered, and ready to make real change. And whether you're a parent, a teacher, an advocate, a school-based member, or somebody who's just trying to do right by a student, this podcast gives you straight talk, real answers, and tools that you can use immediately. I'm not here to play politics. I'm not here to play sides. I'm here to train people who sit at the table and teach you how to follow the law, ask the right questions, and protect the rights of students. So go ahead and hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change. We're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. Good evening. Welcome back, you guys. We're so happy you guys are all here. If we haven't met, I'm Karen Mayer Cunningham, special education boss, training everyone that sits at the IEP table to navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes. So it is Ask the Advocate. Whether you're a school-based member, a parent, an attorney, an advocate, we want to equip you with the best information going forward to be successful. Invite your friends, invite your exes, invite your soon-to-bes, all of them. So we are ready to hear the questions. Just as a reminder, we are having a live virtual. We're having a live virtual. So you can log on from a bathtub, a balcony, a beach, or Baton Rouge, or Boston. Saturday, May 31st, and Sunday, June 1st. So live virtual. So I'll be teaching the 2-day intensive. So if that's something you want to participate, do that. We're doing a live in person just outside of Orlando, June 7th and 8th, and July 19th and 20th. And those will be the 3 trainings this summer. So avail yourself of that in case you want to be equipped to pivot and help kids from the outside in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let the questions begin. Yes, this is my natural hair color, if somebody wants to know that. I wrote a natural check for it. Yep.
Several people have already emailed in and asked, when is your next 2-day live, whether it's virtual or in person?
May 31st and June 1st. So it'll be over 2 months, ba-dum-bum. Get it? May 31st and June 1st. See how I did that? So if you need to get registered for that, just email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. And we'll get you the link and get you guys signed up. That's going to be crazy, amazing fun. And I'm sure that these crazy ladies here are going to join me because they make sure that we act right. Well, one of them does, Elena. Me and Rachel and Cindy are like, whoa. So, anyway. So we have room monitors in the training.
We do.
Yeah, and I just want to start out by saying something that I made a TikTok about last night at 10:30 at night. Let me just tell you, my friends, if you got a call a few days before your IEP meeting this year that all of a sudden your student's doing fantastic and great and amazing and they don't belong in the special ed setting, but nobody said anything about it all year, listen to me. Are you listening? I doubt that's true. And if it's true, it will be supported by what? Data, data, data. So if a child's been in resource, if they've been in a supported class, and they all of a sudden, at the 9th hour, they want to say, he needs to be in general ed next year. Whatever decision we make sure that you're not being pressured and manipulated, and somebody's not talking to you really, 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 really fast. The data is the data. So his FIE, his IEP progress reports, his district assessments, his written work that comes home that you can see. So data is something I can see, screen share, put in an exhibit book, and we can graph. Everything else is an opinion. Just had to get that out. Because it's amazing that all these kids all of a sudden just wanted you to know he doesn't need special ed next year. Shocker. And then I asked them, well, who is the special ed teacher that teaches resource? Oh, she's leaving. Oh, so is this about Billy or is this about staffing? So, all right, I just had to get that out.
Good to know. What does a 504 plan really get you?
It gets you, whether you're a child in public school or you're an adult in the workforce or anywhere in a public building, that entity, institution is not allowed to discriminate and not provide you accommodations. So the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 is a civil rights act. It's not an educational act, but it does cover children that are in public school that receive federal funds. And so in my decades-long career, I can count on one hand, not using all my fingers, the amount of kiddos that I've ever served that solely needed a 504. So that means you just need accommodations. And in my experience, I've found that most kids that need accommodations, those teachers would give them that anyway. A 504 has no recording, there's no documentation, there's no tracking, there's no adjusting, there's no additional education. It's solely applying accommodations.
Is a school offering pre-K after having denied it, stating my kid's disability does exist?
So is there a question? Is that a question?
It is a question.
What's the
They
question?
want to know if does their child have a disability if they are now offered pre-K?
So pre-K is not a special ed program, okay? So there's no requirement in any state to provide pre-K. My amazing, perfect, natural blonde grandson lives in Louisiana, and they are a state that does offer pre-K to almost all 4-year-olds. So it's not a special education product. So the special education product that exists for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds is called ECSC. It used to be called PPCD, Preschool Preparation for Children with Disabilities. Now it's called Early Childhood Special Education. And as soon as we learn that, they will send us an email and go, we're changing the acronym. And so those are children that have an identified disability with at minimum a speech impairment that are in need of support between the ages 3, 4, and 5. So I think that we get confused a little bit on pre-K. So you could be offered pre-K and your child not have a disability.
What is the accommodation for a student in AP classes? What would it look like when tests are meant to be timed?
So when you choose for your student to participate in a class that is above general ed, there is no legal requirement for special education support. Accommodations are going to be few and far between because the presumption and the assumption is that if your child can do above state standards, they don't need to have that class supported. So I really caution you, like really caution you on putting a child with an identified disability in advanced classes, because those classes are really more like college, right? I give the directive, I give the instruction, I give the expectation, then I expect the students to get to work. So those settings often become problematic for my kiddos with disabilities.
Do substitutes document in-class support minutes when they are subbing?
So I was just having this conversation with 2 of my leaders in Winter Park, Florida this weekend. I don't find that substitutes are handed the children's IEPs. I don't find that substitutes have time to sit down and read through all of their IEPs while they're in the parking lot before they come into the building. I don't find that substitutes are handed children's 504. I don't find that substitutes are given the student's health care plan. So I believe that substitutes are brought in to deliver the education plan that was left by the general ed teacher. But I would be hard pressed to find substitutes that go in and read all of the 504s and all of the IEPs before they step into that instructional setting. So I don't know if that answers the question. Was that the question, Cindy?
Yes.
Yeah. So if I don't know you have an IEP, I would doubt that substitutes understand their duties and obligations when serving a child with a disability, whether it's a 504, it's covered under ADA, if they have a healthcare plan, or an IEP.
Can a state pass a law to eliminate service implementers on an IEP?
Sounds like we're talking about Oklahoma. So no state can pass a law that reduces the benefit of IDEA. The only state that I've ever seen that has passed a law that I believe reduces the benefit of IDEA is Nevada. Nevada has such stringent requirements on those students who have an identified visual impairment who are in need of special education and related services.
Is offering to provide a FAPE after I filed a complaint a joint resolution?
Well, the FAPE offer is always a requirement from the LEA. If you want, one of the great things about filing is sometimes it's like Windex. It clears things up. So I am always amenable to any offer of that educational product that's going to benefit my child with a disability. So if they would like to give us a new offer of FAPE, and it has a possibility of remedying my filing, then I'm certainly amenable to have that conversation.
Does every school that has an ESE department required to have a resource teacher?
Every campus is required to have resource. So that sounds like a Florida question. Yeah, every campus in America has to have a resource, because every campus in America have children that are 2 to 3 years behind. It's the most amazing thing. We've sprinkled those little cherubs everywhere.
Ooh, I have a question. What happens when a teacher copies and pastes the previous teacher's PLAF with no edits?
So if you ever came to my trainings, which you all will because you're all smart and adorable and amazing, one of the things I train on is what do I have on deck when I'm doing an IEP meeting. Today I had an IEP meeting that was the third meeting that went on for 3 hours. And this is one of the students' files. Just one. So if you see those pages that are folded right here, the first one was the last IEP that was completed last April. This one is the draft IEP that we're trying to finish. And the document under that is the student's last full evaluation. So I always have all 3 of those documents on deck when I'm doing an IEP meeting, because you're going to need to draw from them. So today in an IEP meeting I am not even kidding, ISD, the 3 new goals were, wait for it, say it with me, the same goals. But wait, one we made even less stringent because he didn't meet it. So now we're going backwards. Yeah, so I want to have them in front of me because I'm just a human. I do 500 IEP meetings a year. You guys do millions of them. It's often the very same document. So we give the school an opportunity to rectify that. But if the present levels are not current, then we can't have an IEP meeting. Everything that we do in an IEP meeting is built off of a pristine, prescriptive, puffy PLAF. So we can determine the student's unique circumstances and write a document to enable them to make progress. Olé on Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
Thank you for being celebratory.
What is your opinion on a community field trip for just the life skills kiddos?
So often they're called, so that's not unusual. I don't know if it's a field trip. So we call them CBIs, community-based instruction, even in Apopka. So those are entities where we know that we're expanding these students' areas of interest and finding ways that we can grow them for post-secondary success. So community-based interventions and experiences are not unusual. So those would be appropriate for students that all had disabilities.
What should I do if our school social worker is behind on services and I have brought it up multiple times with administration?
So in writing, that's the great thing about writing, is it's clear. So in writing, I would say, hi, this is Mrs. Smith. I just want to confirm that Billy has missed 7 services at 35 minutes each. That equals, who knows what that equals. When will those minutes be delivered in a compensatory offer to my son to remedy the denial of FAPE?
Many people love your outfit tonight, including Truck Tiger.
I know Truck Tiger.
Do you?
He's my husband.
Well, he loves your outfit.
Well, thanks. Does he think I should buy more outfits?
Of course he does.
I knew he would.
I'm sure that's coming in the comments.
I'm sure something's coming in the comments. Yes.
Okay. Can a school deny testing due to attendance issues?
Absolutely. So if the student is not at the school, we can't test them. We can't do observations. We can't make recommendations. We can't get feedback from the teachers who are teaching that student. So you have to make your student available, and the student has to participate in the instructional day. Now, if you miss a day or two, that's not going to impact it. But absolutely, if you miss a large amount of time, you've denied the school their window of time to complete the full assessments.
If the school backdates a notice of a meeting and key people weren't there and I didn't excuse them, is this a violation?
You tell me. Do you think backdating a legal document that's part of receiving federal money is illegal? I'm going to go ahead and say,
I registered for Ask the Advocate, but I don't know how it works. What are the different things you do?
Oh, I'm a swimwear model. I'm not a swimwear model. So I represent families that have disabilities in IEP meetings. I represent them in mediation. I represent them at state complaints. Represent them in federal complaints. In a few states, I represent them all the way through due process hearings. We do records review. We do press conferences. We do a gazillion things. And then also, you can come on here and ask a question, and then our moderators will get to them as quickly as possible.
The school just gave us a 504 after asking for 2 years. He has ADHD and ODD on paper. Is an IEP needed for this instead of a 504?
So an IEP is when you need an individualized education program because your student needs instruction in one of these areas: functional, behavioral, emotional, neurological, vision, hearing, academic, anything that happens during the instructional day. If your student is out of the normed and average range, they might rise to the level of needing special education and related services. So if you think everything that your child needs can be delivered solely by a general ed teacher, then you wouldn't need an IEP.
2 people asking this question for different states. Does your course support a teacher wanting to be an advocate in Southern California, and another one was asking for Idaho?
The potato or the people on the beach, we got you. We got you. So whether you're in the Kodiak Islands or you're in Miami-Dade or you're in Massachusetts or San Diego, if you want to serve children in America under IDEA and serve them at the highest level, we want to train you.
Okay. What is your experience with and thoughts on retention of special education students?
It's very unique to every single circumstances. So, circumstances, I don't even think it was the correct sentence. So you have to realize that first, I don't know who he is. I'm sure Elena and Cindy would tell me, but there is a young man that's written curriculum. I think he's out of the UK, about how awful retention is. It's just awful, 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 awful. And then he goes to school districts and gives these professional development. And that there's no data that retention is beneficial. I don't know that that's true or not true. Here's what I do know. As somebody that served families for 28 years, I have never had a client that I've personally served that retained their child that regretted it. I do have clients that should have retained their kids and they didn't because they believed the school and just kept pushing them forward. Here's really the question that you would want to ask yourself as it relates to retention. And I'm only looking at retention for K1 and 2. Usually it would be very unusual circumstances past that. But here's your question. Has the student met state expectations in academics, in functional, in communication, in social, in all of those pieces? And if he hasn't, then you need to talk about what could be the benefit of retention, right? Because what happens in school? We just keep going. If a child is behind, they don't magically catch up on their own. So for myself, my son that was in special education, we retained him. It was the best decision that we made. But I don't sit in school meetings, and I've never had a school go, yeah, let's retain Sally. And even if they wanted to, I was recently in a meeting and the dad said, you all have the same opinion on retention. And I sort of jumped in to give the school an assist. And I said, Mr. Smith, even if they had a different opinion, they have to go with what their district is saying. So, and as somebody that trains and works with teachers all the time, it's unfortunate that teachers or related service providers or general ed teachers can't just say truthfully what they feel without having, repercussions from that.
I just finished my RBT hours. Do you think it would be smart to use 504 plan when I'm taking my exams?
Do you mean that you need accommodations to take the exams? I mean, if you need accommodations for your exam based on your disability, I would certainly invoke that.
quit teaching before becoming an advocate? Can I advocate in my own district?
Say it with me. It's going to be a no. So when you become an advocate, you are representing the family with a child of a disability. The family with a child of a disability often sees things differently than the school district, the county, or the city. So some of my teachers that I train that are sort of fading that out, I tell them, once you've learned what we're going to teach you in the 2-day, you can't unlearn it. You can't get it out of your gut. And you're going to go skipping back into the school with all this new information. And you're going to hear, let's not do that, Rachel. We don't do that here. You don't have to take data. It's all right here. And so there is an endless amount of families to serve with children with disabilities. It's the most unpopulated vocation. And there's almost 8 million children in America with an IEP. 8 million. I live in a city of 7.5 million people. There's probably 2 or 3 advocates here that I would recommend to anybody. And I'm one of the 2 or 3. So we need you to come on down. You're the next contestant on Advocates Across America. I wonder if that's available website. Look that up, Elena. Advocates Across America. It probably is. Really get that, Elena. Yeah. So we need you. The children need you. The families need you. The people need you.
Is a positive behavior intervention plan required to add a one-to-one para? The district is refusing, and the teacher is getting injured.
So it's a behavior intervention plan is required for students that have behavioral needs, right? There are children that might have a one-on-one for medical needs. So, but certainly if it's for safety, they're going to certainly need to have a behavior intervention plan.
In my school, we are not giving an IEP until the first day of school, as the teachers do not receive their copies. Is this okay?
It's goofy. That's like saying, I'm not going to let you know where your classroom is till the first day of school. The point of teaching, or even when I do it, and you guys are amazing, I'm not a teacher, but when I train and equip people, you know what I do? I prepare. The IEP has to be implemented the first day the doors open. So why you would stop your teachers from being prepared? I don't know. Don't know.
Can I get the public school to pay for a private school if the secretary cuts the child's school in half?
Oh my gosh, where is that secretary? Is that from the Carol Burnett show? Is that Mrs. Wiggins? You get in here and take us on a dictation. Yeah, I don't, what's the secretary? It has to do with anything. So, I have children that have received education outside of the school setting after a series of unsuccessful IEP meetings, and then we file. I can't guarantee that for anybody else, but that is something that I help families with and our partners do.
I have a student who is gifted in ELA, but SLD in math. They have an accommodation of extra time. Do they get that in both classes?
They're gifted in what?
ELA.
If you're
English Language Arts.
You're so funny. English Language Arts. Like I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what it meant. So if you're gifted, you actually need reduced time. You don't need extra time because you're done. So, so again, that is where you can have a child with a disability who's also gifted in an area. So you do those accommodations and those supports by content area. But I wouldn't have any data that supported that you need extra time if you're gifted in this content area.
Okay. Do all teachers working with a student have to have a full copy of the IEP?
Well, one would think so, but we found out that thinking could be overrated in your county. So it's amazing that we write a whole IEP and then we send out the teacher bundle. The teacher bundle are parts of the IEP. It's sort of like, please go find a car in the parking lot that has a steering wheel. So I don't know why we wouldn't give the educators access to the entire IEP. We're required to deliver the whole IEP, but it's not my experience that schools do that.
How long can a case manager wait until providing the teachers with an IEP? We go weeks sometimes, and it's making me crazy.
It makes me crazy. It makes me crazy. It makes me TikToks. It makes me Instagram reels. So you're supposed to implement the IEP with fidelity the first day of school. So somebody's asking if I have a list of help in a certain area. So if you're looking for legal help, almost every state will have, so I'm in Texas, the Texas Education Agency has a list of attorneys that support families with disabilities, and they have a list of advocates. They don't endorse them. They just have a list that they've compiled. So if you are looking for legal assistance in Stockton, California, I would reach out to the Department of Education and ask if they have a combined a list of attorneys that would represent families in your state.
Can my child get speech during the summer from the school?
Can they get speech during the summer from the school? So your student might be eligible for ESY, Extended School Year Services, which means one of two things have occurred. They have documented regression on their IEP goals with a profound amount of time to recoup that skill. Or number two, we're concerned for loss of critical skills. And so it's two-pronged, except for I found out last week in Montana. Just kidding. It's everywhere. So if one of those two things are true for your speech goals, then you might qualify for ESY for speech. In Montana, they have a very high fence, and it cuts off IDEA. It's like 6 feet in the air. Only antelope can get over it. Did you know that Montana touches Canada? I was shocked when I looked at the map on my wall. I don't know, when did they teach us maps? What age were we? Because I feel like I was talking during that class. I know, third grade. I was Miss Brenner's class. I was talking. I think Miss Brenner is a bartender now after me being in her class, but it was good times. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Can a school ask a parent to remove or de-escalate their child because their child is taking them out of work?
Can the school ask the parent to de-escalate the child? So, of course, parents can do whatever they can to support the school. But at the end of the day, the obligation to educate the student is on the school. So, we need to write a plan that makes him successful in school and get all the information that you need from the parent. But calling the parent, when we've had robust IEP meetings, we've had a robust BIP, is not the intention of the delivery of the IEP. So the person that delivers the IEP, once we've agreed upon it, it's codified, is the school-based member. So if you need to come back to the table and have another meeting and talk about behavioral supports, let's do that with the parent. But let's not get into the habit of calling parents to pick up their kids. And if you are picking up your child, you need to capture that in writing. So I would just email and say, "Dear Myrtle Creek Turtles, today was, May 5th, and I came and picked up Mark from school because you were not able to provide him a full educational day." And then I would track that.
My son has Asperger's, ADHD, and a 504, but keeps getting denied for an IEP. Why do you think this is? They say he has decent grades.
Oh, well, therein would be your problem, Muffin. So an IEP is not based on grades. It's based on educational need, not academic need. So the two eligibilities that you just talked about are both neurological conditions that often show up in behavior, emotional, or social needs. So I would ask for a robust IEP in all 8 areas to look at all areas of eligibility, including special education and related services or instructional services. And once we get that data back, we can talk about whether or not he needs higher level of support than just a 504.
Do you have to wait 2 or 3 months when your child gets to new school to be reevaluated?
So the reevaluation is not based upon what district you live in or if you moved during the summer. It's based upon a timeline, right? So we are charged with at the latest looking at a reevaluation of existing educational data. Every 3 years is called a triennial. But if there's a need for new and or updated evaluations, we do that as a committee.
What are your thoughts on admin switching a child's homeroom teacher to provide in-class support?
I mean, if that's what the student needs, thank you for a great admin.
Can I request a manifestation determination meeting if my child shows a pattern of behavioral issues?
You can, and I would.
my child's behavior in class is impacting him to do his schoolwork, even though I have shown that he is capable of doing the work. What do I do?
So when you say capable, that's a very generous word. So is the question from a teacher or a parent?
I believe it's a parent.
Okay. So capable means you have you have the capacity to do it, right? So, but can you do it at the same frequency and rate that the teacher expects? So that's something different. So I think that we often say, because I saw Billy do it Tuesday, he should be doing it Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. That doesn't always bear itself out. So I'd really dial down our words or everything. When you say capable, I have kids that have IQs that are in the 110s, 115s, but they can't do grade level work based upon being in a room with so many kids. So we really need to tease out capacity versus ability. So really at the end of the day, what does the student produce after the teacher directives? And then let's work on growing strengths inside of that and mitigating things that are impeding their learning.
Can SPEC students still receive office referrals for breaches in the code of conduct?
So all students are general ed students. Some of them receive special education services. Anybody can receive a disciplinary action that attends a public school. If you are a student in special education and you have a behavior intervention plan, or you have modifications or alternate curriculum, then we are charged with taking that into consideration while we consider if and what level of disciplinary action there should be based upon a manifestation determination resolution meeting.
Okay.
What do you think my words correct per minute are? Do you think they're high? Just kidding.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That inquiring minds want to know.
I know.
I can test that. It took a whole school year for an IEP to be done and was never followed from 2022 to 2024. What do I do about this? Is it too late?
So you can file an Office of Civil Rights complaint for the last 6 months. You can file a state complaint in most states for the last year. And then you can file due process in almost all but 6 states for the last 2 years. So you're really locked into those timelines, which is why I tell parents, I don't know what you're waiting for. If you're just waiting for things to, on their own, da-da, and change, I think that you're going to be grieved that da-da is not coming.
Parents think my student belongs in a SOAR class, SOAR. I have so much data that shows that's not the case. What do I do?
Well, we have to make decisions based on data. So the committee, the school-based members and the parent are charged with looking at and reviewing all data that's presented to the committee. And then the committee makes an informed decision. So make sure that when you're at that meeting that you present that data, that you send copies, you screen share it, you talk about it, so that we're making good decisions for the student.
Excellent.
And somebody said, but I did, and they're not doing it, so what should I do? Then I would file. I don't know why people wait to file, right? If you had a flat tire, you wouldn't just go, well, you know what, George, maybe it'll be full in the morning. No, you would go get it fixed. If you want change in your district, county, or city, and it hasn't come by your intelligent, collaborative conversations and meetings, you need to file a complaint. Because school districts and cities and counties do listen to people when the complaints are filed.
I don't know what this one means. So it says, I put my question in your DMS. It's too many pieces to fit into one comment.
Yeah, so we have 7 platforms that we're on currently. We get hundreds of direct messages. I would love to tell you that we answer all of them. We don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the staff to do that. So if you have a question, you can send it to us at advocate@Special Education Academy, and we can try to get you directed to a digital training, get you an answer, or get you representation.
Good to know. If a student has an internal bleeding need, if a student has internal bleeding and needs a one-to-one, does the student, I'm not exactly sure.
So if the student has a condition that might cause internal bleeding and has a 1-to-1.
And then it says students used to have a 1-to-1, but now the student doesn't have one.
Yeah, so I mean, when you have a child that's medically fragile, medically compromised, and has acute medical needs, then we write an IEP that includes an IHP, an individual's healthcare plan, a PCS, a personal care supplement, that dictates and acknowledges the need and why the student rises to that level. So, but if it's in the IEP, we deliver it. It's just kind of what we do.
The teacher and the principal told me that my son has characteristics of dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I need to do next?
Get to intervening. That is the correct language. Characteristics of dyslexia.
How do I pick my IEE evaluators?
I would call them and I would say, hey, Miss Modern, it says you're an IEE provider in, Pittsburgh. How many IEs do you do a year? 1. Ugh. So you want an IE provider that does a number of things. 1, that they do these regularly. 2, that they know how to explain their evaluation at an IEP meeting. And 3, have a good reputation, right? So if you're an IE provider in Pittsburgh, you should be able to, say I've been working here for 7 years. I do 14 to 18 of this a year for this district. But often I will get an IE provider that the parent selected that is used to writing clinical evaluations and medical evaluations. That doesn't always translate effectively into a IEP meeting. Somebody just asked, do I help people in Spanish también? So I know like 7 words in Spanish, but we have our 2-day training in a digital form in Spanish. So we just got that up a few months ago. It's amazing.
Can I request a manifestation determination? Oh, we've already answered that one. Brandy would like to know, are you available?
Like, am I dating? Am I available? I am available for some limited things, and those are on a case-by-case basis. I am very well supported by an amazing professional team of 6 full-time partners that we have that I personally trained, equipped to serve families at the highest level.
Any suggestions for the last IEP meeting for my child in high school?
Regrets? I've had a few. No, I'm just kidding. I would just say thank you all for serving my child. We appreciate everything that you've done. And just make sure that you have the information that you need for post-secondary success, whether it's agencies, community-based services, so that you can be successful post-secondary with gainful employment, independent living, and further education.
Is the next virtual really 2 months long?
No, it's May 31st and June 1st. I was being funny.
Oh.
See, it's over 2 months, but
that would really.
Sometimes people say that I'm funny. I've been told that I'm funny. I'm funny-ish. It depends on what day it is and what meeting.
Can you talk about the voucher for private schools and how we can apply?
No. That's not what I do. My space is serving individuals with identified disabilities that are in need of special education related services between the ages of 3 and 22.
Is placement decided by behavior or academic capabilities?
Neither.
My student is above grade level but won't do the work.
It's based on need. It's based on the need. So what the need of the student and where can we get the most gains on their IEP goals determines placement.
What would you do if the school completed the alternative testing rubric without parent involvement?
I would say, ¿por qué? The alternative assessment rubric is not, I don't get excited about that. I'm not a fan of state testing, alternative testing, any of that. But, if they filled it out correctly, I don't really think it's a rock to die on.
Due to human assets, only co-teacher is in 2 of the 4 subjects. IEP is for reading. Is this legal?
If you're either implementing the IEP or you're denying FAPE. I know you guys want it to be something else, but it's not. You're either implementing the IEP or you're denying the student FAPE. For whatever reason, the roof fell in, everybody was abducted by aliens, we have a staffing shortage. It's not personal, it's business. So I did make a video that people got very much in their feels about, and so let me repeat it, because I like to do that. There are plenty of people at the admin level that are not teaching children that could come and fill those positions while we await somebody that's going to apply for the job. Here's another thing, school districts pay people that are serving children. You are paying a lot of money for people at the district level. We need better appropriation of district budgets to serve the people that are serving our children. Teachers, general ed teachers, special education teachers, paras should have the best pay, period. So often this is not a staffing issue. This is a funding budget appropriation issue, because I've never seen a superintendent that's not making 6 figures, high 6 figures. All principals make 6 figures. People at the admin level at the district office are making 6 figures. That's not what my teachers are making.
What have you found to be the most efficient way for us teachers to document given accommodations daily?
So, I mean, we're not looking for perfection. I can tell, my partners can tell by talking to a teacher if she's delivered the accommodations. I mean, if I ask for a log, if you did the accommodations, you could make one at night. I can tell by the way she discusses the child, can talk about the child's gains, can talk about their needs, whether or not she's implementing the IEP. So, because they can talk about, these are things that I say, tell me what that looks like when you chunk his assignments. And if she says, I mark off 2, 4, 6, and 8, that's not the accommodation, right? So we're not hunting people down, looking for their data. Their dialogue in the meeting tells me whether or not they delivered the IEP with fidelity. And there are plenty of tracking systems. If you'll go back to Special Education Academy on the YouTube, last week we interviewed the amazing, fantastic Dr. Mitchell Yell, and he indicated many websites that are free that help you guys track special education processes.
My child's general education teachers are not providing Tier 2. The special education teacher has lots of unnecessary referrals and he did not qualify. What do I do?
So I don't know what an unnecessary referral is. The federal law is very clean. It doesn't say anything about Tier 1, Tier 2, tears down your face. It doesn't say anything about that. It simply says 300.111 that the LEA is required to assess children who have suspected disabilities who may be in need of special education and related services. So when we're having to give tier interventions to children, that's going to very quickly open the door to a suspicion of a disability. So, I don't know who is and isn't doing their Tier 2. That's not a legal question for IDEA. Do we suspect the student has a disability? And so good testing will bear that in or out.
How significant can my son's outcomes be adjusted within the curriculum?
How significant can your child's outcomes be? I don't think I understand the question.
By adjusting within, hopefully Art Sprout can give us some clarification. Okay. Duplicate. Can you talk about manifestation hearings?
Yeah, well, they're not hearings. They're manifestation, determination, resolution meetings. Manifestation, determination, resolution meetings. And so we are charged with all parties on the IEP team to bring forth any data that talked about the student's disability, their unique circumstances, their diagnosis, their, anything that could possibly affect and be related to the causation of this action that the student took. And so then we're charged with 2 questions. Number 1, is this a failure of the district to implement the student's IEP? And then number 2, is this action a result or causation of the student's disability? Not their educational eligibilities, but the student's disabilities. So often we just look at their eligibilities and we don't talk about if they have private care, if they see a therapist, if they're on medications, those sorts of things.
And here's our last question. How do I ask the school to test my child?
So you send an email and say, this is my formal request for my student to have special education and related service testing. Areas of suspected disability are behavior, learning, attention. We look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. That's it. I bought a product this weekend just because I always want to see what other people are doing. And there was a sample letter for testing. It was this long. It was this long. Keep it simple, SISTA. This is my formal request for special education testing. Areas of suspected disability are attention, behavior, focus, emotional. We look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. Don't make it complicated. And then that starts a timeline, and the district at the longest has 15 calendar days to respond to your request for testing. Okay?
And we're at the end.
It's the end. Yes. Can you believe it's the end? It's almost the end, isn't it? I just booked 2 more IEP meetings for after Memorial Day. So much for being in my swimsuit all week. So much. One or nada. All right, so we will see you guys. We have 2 trainings that we do every Monday night. We have VIP, which is 7 to 8, and that is solely for full-time advocates. If you're interested in that, just send us an email at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. Or if you want to join the academy where all of your questions get answered, we do a training every Monday night at 8 p.m. Central, and then I open the floor for all of your questions, comments, and concerns for the committee. So we love you. Remember, we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. We'll see you at the next training. Hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change, we're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody.